Hey everyone, for those of you who are new, I'm Hamza, and I'm a doctor in Australia, and today I'll be talking about evidence-based journaling practices, and why if you don't already, why you need to be journaling to get these huge benefits. And if you already journal, I guarantee you there'll be some information in this video which will help you hone your practice to actually reap the full rewards from this activity. Or it did for me at least. You might be asking, why do I need a journal? A lot of people understand that it helps with their mental health, but would you believe that it actually helps in the realm of your physical health as well as in the realm of your personal success and goals? Alright, so let's get straight into it. There are 4 types of journaling that are evidence-based that I'm going to be going through today. Feel free to jump to whichever one speaks to you the most. First one, gratitude journaling. So let's start with why you should be doing, what are the benefits? So many studies showed that having a gratitude journaling practice really showed a lot of benefits, and I'll read some of them to you. So they showed that there was a better subjective sense of well-being. There was more resilience to trauma because they were able to reframe past trauma and also inoculated them against future trauma. It also made anxiety and fear circuits less likely to be active, and circuits for feelings of well-being and motivation to be much more active. Other studies show that having an effective gratitude practice increased the quality of your sleep and made you more likely to exercise. So suffice to say, there's plenty of benefits. Okay, that's great and all, but how exactly do I do it? So I've got some bad news for all of us. Unfortunately, there's really poor evidence for gratitude lists. People didn't show that much improvement or benefits when they would list out their gratitudes. In the studies done, the people who would get the most benefits were people who would receive gratitude, not give it. So what do I mean by that? So studies done showed people who received letters of gratitude from their co-workers had huge benefits. These benefits range from a reduction in the reactivity of their amygdala. The amygdala is an area in our brain responsible for responding to threats, so meaning it made them less anxious and more calm. It also saw a reduction in cellular production of inflammatory markers such as TNF-alpha. Another way by getting these benefits was by seeing people receive positive things in their lives. In a study done, subjects watched videos of survivors of genocide and the people who helped them along the way. The people who watched these videos then would get these benefits from their gratitude practice just by observing someone else. And lastly, people who had increased sympathetic tone, meaning alertness, would have a better effect from these gratitude practices. Okay, so how do we apply this practically? What's the protocol? Number 1 is increase your sympathetic tone, alertness. So you can do that by cyclic breathing, ice baths, chanting, lots of various things. Number 2, think into a time that someone was grateful to you and how you felt when you received that gratitude. Number 3, think deeply about the emotional experience of somebody else receiving help or gratitude. Just something that moves you. Find a narrative or a story that's powerful to you. For example, for me, a story that inspires me is David Goggins' story. And so think specifically, list out their struggle, what was their help that they received, and how does that impact you emotionally. You only need to do this 3 to 5 times a week for 1 to 2 minutes, so it's not a big commitment. And the best way is to write it down in a journal. Second practice, expressive journaling. Now, this type of journaling has been shown to have the most benefits for people's mental health. Dr. Pennybaker's researcher has found that journaling about traumatic or disturbing experiences specifically has the most measurable impact on overall well-being. Now, the benefits helped more for general well-being and depression, and not as much for anxiety and PTSD, but they still had significant benefits in relation to the control group. The benefits included less illness-related visits to the doctor, blood pressure decreases, better lung function, better liver function, and also less number of days in hospital. Expressive writing has also produced significant benefits in a number of measures of immune system functioning. Not only is expressive journaling helping your mental health, it also can help your physical health from the data. Great, so how do we do it? The instructions that the participants in these studies were given were, for the next 4 days, I would like you to write down your deepest thoughts and feelings about the most traumatic experience of your life, or an extremely important emotional issue that has affected you in your life. So essentially, ask yourself the question, what is the most traumatic experience that you've gone through in your life? And just let yourself write whatever and wherever you want to take that to. And do that as often as you can for 30 days, and that's where the benefit will come in. It should be noted that initially participants would feel worse because they were bringing up all these traumatic events, and that would lower their scores that they were checking on their mood or concentration or memory. However, that effect will curve off, and eventually, after some time, the benefits come in. Number 3, daily journaling of events, thoughts, and emotions. So this is the practice that I personally do the most, and it's probably what most people do when they think of journaling. However, there's 2 things that are really important from this practice that are beneficial. And the first one is patterns. When you journal your everyday thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, you can start to notice what things make you feel good and what things make you feel bad. So it lets you analyze past events for patterns. And that way you can steer whether or not you want to be doing these behaviors. Is that maladaptive or adaptive towards how you're feeling and how you're progressing? The second benefit from this is emotional labeling. Labeling emotions and acknowledging traumatic events, both natural outcomes of journaling, have a known positive effect on people. Dr. Penny Baker said that this is often a core part of talk therapy, and there's a rich scientific literature on the benefits of labeling our emotions, and in doing so, reducing their charge. In the literature, it shows that labeling emotions increases activation in the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, which downgrades activity in the amygdala, which we know from before. The amygdala is a brain region that processes emotions, especially fear and anxiety. So downgrading the amygdala would help us calm ourselves. Number 4, reflective journaling for success. This is the journaling practice for the people who don't have any traumatic events that they want to write about, don't have any mental health things that they're struggling with, and really, this is where journaling comes into for everyone else who's not in that circle. Because a key part of progressing in any aspect of your life is to reflect and refine from that. So this journaling practice really has a focus on recording your progress, points of improvement, and thought process while working towards your goals. It might also include things you have learned from people or events around you that inspire you in some way. In Angela Duckworth's book Grit, after studying hundreds of successful people, she says that a key part of how someone becomes world-class at something is by deliberately practicing. Now, I've made a whole video on this book that you can check out here if you'd like, but today we're just going to focus on one aspect of what it means to deliberately practice. The step of repetition with reflection and refinement. And we're going to focus on reflection. So in a paper done studying employees at a call center, it demonstrated that employees who spent 15 minutes a day reflecting about lessons learned that day performed 23% better after 10 days than those who did not reflect at all. Another study showed that UK commuters found a similar result when they were prompted to use their commute time to think about their day. They were found to be more happy, more productive, and less burned out than people who didn't. Another study looking at pilots demonstrated that post-flight reviews were ways to improve not only individuals' learning, but also air crew's performance via shared observations and interpretations of what went good and bad during flights. So there's so much evidence in literature, but also just anecdotally, of knowing that reflection, but also just writing down the reflection and what you've learned helps you progress your goals. So now the question is, how exactly do you reflect for success? And the best way to do it. And this study shows us how exactly. After a failed experience, the biggest performance improvement takes place when an individual focuses on both the correct and erroneous actions. Whereas, if someone has had a successful experience, only focusing on the erroneous experience led to better performance and improvements. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope that video was helpful, and if it was, please share it around to someone that you think would benefit from it. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider subscribing, but otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.